Hello, everyone. Most people walk through life with a foggy mind, chasing goals that don't even belong to them, stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and routines that keep them numb. And they wonder why they feel empty, why they feel exhausted, why they feel disconnected. The answer is simple. There's no clarity, and without clarity, there is no power. Purpose cannot exist in confusion. Passion does not live in uncertainty. If you want to find your purpose in life with real passion, you have to get clear, crystal clear, not someday clear, not when life slows down, clear now. You have to know what lights you up, what makes you feel alive, what makes you lose track of time, what makes you feel like you're being pulled by something greater instead of constantly pushing just to make it through the day. That's the beginning of purpose, but it doesn't show up automatically. You don't stumble onto it while scrolling your phone. You have to pursue it. You have to dig for it. You have to ask better questions than what job should I do, or what will make me money. You've got to ask, what do I value so deeply that I'd fight for it? What kind of impact would make this life feel meaningful? What would I do if I knew I could not fail? Clarity is not about having all the answers. It's about knowing the right direction. You don't need the entire staircase. You just need the next step. But most people are waiting for certainty before they move, waiting for a sign, waiting for perfect timing. That's not clarity. That's fear disguised as patience, and it's killing their momentum. The truth is, you gain clarity through movement. Through action, you try, you fail, you try again, and in the process, things get clearer. You want to find your purpose? Start by getting honest, not with the world, with yourself. Strip away the noise, the expectations, the labels. Stop trying to be who you think you're supposed to be, and start listening to who you actually are. That voice inside you, the one you've been ignoring, that's the real you. And it's been trying to speak, in the quiet, in the discontent, in the frustration. That's not random, that's a signal, a sign that you're meant for something deeper, and that something starts with clarity. Without it, you'll chase goals that aren't yours, you'll pursue success that doesn't satisfy, you'll climb the ladder of achievement only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. Don't let that be your story. You've got one shot at this life, one, and the only way to make it count is to live it on purpose. You want power, you want passion, then stop living by accident. Start making decisions that align with what matters to you. Stop outsourcing your identity to your past, to your failures, to what other people said you could or couldn't do. That's not who you are. Who you are is the person you choose to be over and over again. Every moment, every choice, every standard you raise gets you closer to the clarity you crave. You will not find your purpose in comfort. You won't find it while numbing out or staying safe. You find it when you get radically honest about what's not working in your life, and you stop tolerating it. You don't need to know the final destination, but you do need to know the truth. What do you really want? What do you feel called to create, to give, to lead, to build, to transform? Don't wait for clarity to come and rescue you. Go and take it. Get in the room, read the book, ask the question, do the thing that scares you, move toward what pulls you. And when it pulls you, run, because that's purpose. That's the fire most people have lost. But you don't have to. Once you get clear, you'll feel different. You'll move different, you'll speak different, because now your life has direction. You won't wake up wondering what the point is. You'll wake up with a reason. That's the difference between drifting and driving, between surviving and living, between being tired of life and being on fire for life. And that clarity, it becomes your compass. When life gets loud, and it will, you come back to it. When fear kicks in, and it will, you come back to it. When failure punches you in the mouth, and it will, you come back to it. You remind yourself why you started, who you are, what you value, and where you're going. That's how you stay locked in. That's how you walk into your purpose and don't let go. The rest of the journey, the pain, the growth, the service, the commitment, the discipline, the passion, it all flows from that first decision, the decision to get clear. Because when you have clarity, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop waiting and start building, and when you build a life that aligns with who you truly are, you stop chasing purpose and start living it. Most people run from pain, they resist it, suppress it, deny it, numb it, But the truth is, pain isn't the enemy, pain is the messenger, pain is the wake-up call. It's not here to break you, it's here to guide you. Because if you look back at your life, the moments that grew you the most, the turning points, the times you changed, weren't when everything was easy. They were when you hit the wall, when you felt lost. When something broke, that pain wasn't punishment. It was a signal that you were out of alignment, a signal that something needed to change, and when you learn to see pain that way, everything shifts. You don't need to be afraid of pain, you need to understand it. You need to lean into it and ask, what is this trying to teach me? Because when you stop trying to avoid pain and start using it, you gain power. That breakup, that betrayal, that failure, that disappointment, it's all feedback. It's showing you where the wound is, and in that wound is the wisdom, but you'll never access it if you keep trying to bury it. Purpose often hides behind the pain, the cause you were born to fight for, the voice you were meant to use, the change you were created to lead. It's often connected to your suffering. Why? Because when you've lived through it, you know it. And when you know it, you can serve from it. You can connect with others. You can lift them out of the darkness you once lived in. That's not theory, that's real, that's human, that's purpose. But to get there, you have to stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can I do with this now? That's where freedom begins. That's where strength is forged. You don't grow stronger by avoiding struggle. You grow stronger by facing it and refusing to be defined by it. When you realize that pain is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your transformation, then it loses its power to control you. The problem is, most people let their pain turn into a story of limitation, a story of I'm not enough, a story of I can't, a story of this is just the way my life is. And they repeat that story until it becomes their identity. But your pain is not who you are, it's what happened. And what happened does not define you unless you let it. You've got to take your pain and turn it into fuel. Let it wake you up. Let it show you what matters. Let it be the moment where everything shifted. Because here's the truth. Your greatest gift may be hidden in your deepest wound. And if you ignore it, if you run from it, you're also running from your power. Living with passion doesn't mean you're always happy. It means you have something worth fighting for. It means you've taken the hardest parts of your life and used them to build something beautiful, something that gives back, something that matters, and when you do that, you don't just survive, you inspire. So stop pretending you're okay if you're not. Stop hiding behind the mask. The world doesn't need perfect. It needs real. It needs people who have been through hell and still chose to grow. People who turn their scars into stories that heal others. People who didn't let the pain close their heart, but opened it wider. That's power, that's passion, that's purpose. And understand this, you are not alone. Whatever you're facing, someone else has felt it too. Someone else has fought that battle. Someone else is fighting it now, and they need you. They need your voice, your strength, your experience. You might think your story is small or broken or too messy to matter. But it matters more than you know, because your story, when owned, when transformed, can be someone else's lifeline. You were not meant to suffer in silence. You were meant to rise through the pain. To rise because of it, and when you rise, you give others permission to rise too. That's the ripple effect. That's the power of one life lived with courage, lived with purpose, lived with fire. So no more running. No more avoiding, no more waiting for the pain to disappear before you start living. It doesn't work that way. The pain may not leave, but it can be transformed, and once it is, you're no longer its victim. You're its master. That's when you take your power back. That's when you start to feel the fire return. That's when you stop asking for an easier path and start becoming the person who can walk any path. Pain is not your prison, it's your path. Follow it, learn from it, use it, let it sharpen your purpose, let it deepen your passion. Because when you stop fearing pain and start embracing its message, you don't just find your strength, you find yourself. Everyone wants to feel alive. They want that energy, that fire, that deep sense of meaning that pulls them forward. But most people go looking in the wrong places. They chase titles, chase money, chase validation, thinking that somewhere out there is the thing that will finally give them purpose. And yet, even when they achieve the goal, it still feels empty, because passion and purpose were never about what you get. They're about what you give. Your purpose lies in your service. If you want to live with passion, you have to get out of your own way. Stop asking, what's in it for me? And start asking, how can I serve? That shift will change your life, because the moment your mission stops being just about you, it expands, it multiplies, it starts to touch lives beyond your own. And when you make someone else's life better, you don't need motivation. You get pulled by a force greater than yourself. Think about the moments in your life that meant the most, the times you felt most alive. They weren't just about personal wins. They were moments when you made a difference, when your words lifted someone, when your actions impacted a life, when you gave not because you had to, but because it felt right. That's when you experience the kind of fulfillment no paycheck or applause can match. That's what purpose feels like. That's where passion begins. But here's the secret. You don't have to change the whole world to live with purpose. You just have to change someone's world, one person, one moment, one act of service. That's all it takes to start the ripple, and that ripple grows. It touches more people than you'll ever realize, and it all starts with showing up, with being the person who cares enough to make an impact. The world isn't short on success stories. It's short on people who serve, people who give with no agenda, people who lead with their heart, not their ego, people who see someone struggling and don't just walk by. That kind of person is rare. That kind of person is powerful. And when you become that kind of person, passion is no longer something you have to chase. It's something you live every day. This is where clarity and pain come together. When you get clear on who you are and what you've lived through, you start to realize how valuable your journey is. You've overcome things, you've felt things, you've grown through things, and that experience is your gift to give. Because someone out there is where you were. They're facing the pain you once faced. They're stuck in the patterns you broke through, and they don't need a lecture. They need your truth, your heart, your story. That's service. That's where your life starts to matter on a whole new level. And when your life matters, you stop wasting it. You stop numbing. You stop coasting. You start showing up with energy, with urgency, with focus, not because someone told you to, but because now you have a reason, a mission, a why that's bigger than your mood or your comfort. You become unstoppable, not because life got easier, but because you stopped living only for yourself. That's the beauty of purpose. It pulls you through the hard days. It fuels your discipline. It gives you the strength to keep going when no one's clapping, when no one sees you, when it feels like nothing's working. Because deep down, you know it matters. You know you're not just passing time. You're building something, you're giving something, you're leading something, and that something is real, but don't make it complicated. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have a grand vision or a perfect plan. You just need to serve where you are with what you have right now. Do what you can. Say what needs to be said. Lift who you can lift. That's purpose in motion. That's how passion grows. Through action, through service, through showing up when it's easier to check out. Stop thinking you're not ready. Stop waiting to feel qualified. If you've got a heartbeat and a lesson, you've got something to give, and giving is what unlocks the deepest parts of your spirit, because at your core you were built to contribute, built to love, built to serve. And when you tap into that, life changes, your relationships shift, your energy rises, your focus sharpens. You stop counting the days and start making the days count. You were never meant to just survive. You were meant to ignite, and the spark isn't found in status or approval, it's found in contribution. Every time you use your life to lift another, your own life rises too. That's the paradox of purpose. You give, and somehow you gain. You pour out, and you get filled. You serve others, and in doing so, you discover yourself. So if you want to live with passion, stop looking inward and start reaching outward. See people, serve people, share what you've learned. Your life will take on a depth you never imagined, and you'll wake up every day not wondering what the point is, but knowing that the point is already inside you, ready to be lived, ready to be given, ready to set this world on fire. You can have the clearest vision, the deepest purpose, and the strongest desire to serve, but without discipline, it all fades. Passion without discipline is just a moment of excitement. Purpose without consistency is just a nice idea. The truth is, if you want to live a life that means something, if you want to turn your potential into reality, you must develop the discipline to follow through long after the emotion has left. Most people think passion is enough. They wait to feel fired up before they move. They think motivation is the fuel, but motivation is fleeting. It's emotional. It comes and goes. Discipline is the difference. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's showing up when it's hard. It's getting up when it would be easier to stay down. It's building the life you want one choice at a time, especially when nobody's watching. The people you admire, the ones who seem unstoppable, the ones living with fire and clarity, they aren't always motivated. They're committed. They've trained themselves to do the hard things whether they feel like it or not. That's how you build an unstoppable mindset. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop being available for your limitations. You start keeping the promises you make to yourself, not just once, but daily. Discipline isn't just about work ethic. It's about alignment. It's about making choices that match your values, your mission, your identity. If you say your purpose is to help others, then live that. If you say you want to build a life of freedom, then earn it. If you say your standards are high, then back them with action, because words are easy. Anyone can talk, but action is the truth, and repeated action, that's where transformation lives. You build discipline through practice, through structure, through small wins that compound over time. It starts with waking up on time, finishing what you start, pushing through the discomfort, setting boundaries with distractions, owning your time, guarding your energy, training your mind to choose what's right over what's easy. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means progress with intention. And yes, it's going to get hard. There will be days you want to quit. Days where your mind tells you it's not worth it, that nobody sees you, that your effort doesn't matter, but that's the moment discipline kicks in. That's when you remind yourself why you started. That's when you lock back in, because you're not driven by how you feel. You're driven by who you are becoming. That identity is what sustains you when the emotions fade. When you're disciplined, you stop chasing shortcuts. You stop hoping for the hack. You understand that mastery takes time. Success takes sacrifice. Fulfillment takes effort, and you're okay with that because you know that discipline is freedom. The more you discipline your time, your body, your mind, your choices, the more you control your life. You don't live reactive anymore. You live on purpose. People say they want freedom, they want confidence, they want fulfillment, but they don't realize those are the byproducts of discipline. You don't get confident by hoping. You get confident by doing hard things. You don't feel free by avoiding structure. You feel free when you control your habits, not when they control you. You don't feel proud of yourself when you stay comfortable. You feel proud when you stretch, when you push, when you rise. And here's the thing, discipline creates momentum. The more you follow through, the more you believe in yourself. The more you believe in yourself, the more you stretch what's possible. And before you know it, you're no longer doubting who you are. You're living it. You're no longer chasing the feeling of passion. You've become the kind of person who lives passionately because you've trained for it, you've built it, you've earned it. Every breakthrough begins with a choice. A choice to do what most won't, to show up when it's inconvenient, to go all in when no one's clapping, to pursue your calling even when the results aren't instant. That's the muscle most people never develop. They wait for the external reward. But if you only work when there's applause, your purpose is fragile. You must be fueled from within, that internal fire, that's discipline. It's the quiet power that says, I don't need hype, I've got commitment. I don't need easy, I've got endurance. I don't need fast, I've got focus. And when you build that, you become untouchable. The distractions lose their grip. The doubts lose their voice. The chaos around you can't shake what's solid inside you. So if you want to live your purpose with passion, decide today that you will live disciplined, not because it's trendy, not because someone's watching, but because your mission matters. Your time matters, your life matters, and it's too valuable to waste on inconsistency. Discipline is love for your future self. It's respect for your potential. It's commitment to what you said matters most. And when you live that, everything changes, not overnight, but inevitably, because you're no longer waiting for the perfect moment. You're becoming the person who creates it. One choice, one standard. One day at a time. Most people never discover the true power of their lives because they never learn how to conquer their emotions. They live in reaction, letting fear, frustration, doubt, or insecurity dictate how they show up. But if you want to live with passion and purpose, if you want to build something meaningful and lasting, you must take command of your emotional state, not once, daily, repeatedly, consistently. Because your emotional state determines your decisions, and your decisions shape your destiny. You've got to understand your emotions are not random, they are patterns, habits, conditioned responses you've built over time, and if you don't break those patterns, they will rule you. You say you want to be confident, but you keep reacting with hesitation. You say you want peace, but you respond with stress and anxiety the moment life throws something unexpected at you. The truth is, you'll never create an extraordinary life from a poor emotional state. You've got to master your state before you can master your life. Think about it. Have you ever made a great decision when you were angry, overwhelmed, or afraid? Of course not. In a poor state, you shrink. You doubt, you hesitate, you play small, but when you're in a peak state, when you're calm, focused, energized, and centered, everything changes, your mind opens up, your body responds, your spirit leads. You start to trust yourself again. You start to lead instead of react. The good news is you don't have to be at the mercy of your emotions. You can train your state. You can condition it. You can shift it on demand. The key is becoming aware of your patterns. You have to notice. What do you do when things go wrong? What do you say to yourself? How do you hold your body? Where does your focus go? All of these shape how you feel. Change your focus, change your physiology, change your internal dialogue. And you shift your state. This is not theory, it's a muscle. You train it like anything else. You practice shifting from frustration to focus, from fear to courage, from doubt to certainty, and at first it might feel unnatural. But with repetition, it becomes who you are. You become the person who can stay centered in chaos, who can tap into strength in the storm, who doesn't wait for the world to be perfect to feel powerful. You generate power from within. This is where emotional fitness kicks in. Just like physical fitness, emotional fitness is built through stress, through pressure, through resistance. You don't grow by avoiding challenges. You grow by facing them with intention. You build strength by staying grounded in tough moments, not by avoiding them. And when you master your emotions, you start to master your outcomes. Let's be real. Life will test you. It will disappoint you. People will let you down. Circumstances will change without warning. But you don't need to collapse every time it happens. You can choose a better response. You can choose grace. You can choose focus. You can choose to breathe and lead yourself forward, because how you feel is a choice, even when it doesn't seem like it. It's not about pretending to be positive. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about owning your emotional space so that nothing outside of you has power over you. You can feel the pain without becoming the pain. You can feel the fear without bowing to it. That's real strength, not suppressing your emotions but mastering them, feeling fully and then choosing powerfully. And when you do that consistently, you create momentum, you build resilience. Your nervous system begins to trust that you won't collapse under pressure. You start showing up with energy, with presence, with clarity. People feel it. Opportunities open. Doors swing wide, not because the world changed, but because you changed, your energy changed, and energy is influence. Living with purpose and passion requires a grounded emotional base. You can't show up for others when you're constantly unraveling yourself. You can't lead with strength if you haven't led yourself through the fire first. This is the deeper work. This is the work nobody sees, but this is the work that shapes everything. So how do you build that state? Move your body, use your breath, get loud if you need to. Get still if that's what brings you back. Take control of your focus, prime your mind daily, guard your inputs, what you watch, what you read, who you surround yourself with. Your environment influences your state more than you realize. You've got to curate your world with intention. And above all, remind yourself daily who you are, not what the world says, not what your past whispers, who you decide to be, because your identity shapes your emotions and your emotions drive your choices. Anchor into your highest self not when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. That's when it matters most. Every day you wake up, you're stepping into a world that will try to pull you out of alignment. But you have the power to realign, to reset, to reframe, not someday, right now, and every time you do, you get stronger. You move closer to that life that's driven by purpose, fueled by passion, and built on unshakable emotional control. This isn't a one-time decision, it's a way of life, and when you live it, not only do you become unstoppable, you become the kind of person others look to when their world shakes, because your strength, your peace, your fire, it's not dependent on the world. It's created from within. That's the power of mastering your emotional state. That's the next level, and it's waiting for you to step into it. You can have vision, you can have purpose, you can have emotional mastery, habits, clarity, and commitment. But if you stop growing, you start dying. Growth is not a luxury. It's a necessity. If you're not expanding, you're contracting. There's no standing still in life. You're either climbing or sliding. Progress is what feeds the soul. It's what gives meaning to every challenge, every setback, every breakthrough. The moment you commit to growth, you step into a life where every day becomes a stepping stone toward the person you're meant to be. See, most people live on autopilot. They wake up, do what they've always done, feel how they've always felt, and then wonder why nothing changes. They think life happens to them. But life happens for you if you learn from it. Growth turns pain into power, confusion into clarity, and fear into fuel. The key is not avoiding problems, but using them, because every challenge is a test, and every test reveals who you're becoming. You want to live with passion, then feed that passion, fuel it with knowledge, sharpen it with new skills, stretch it with bold actions. Growth demands discomfort. It means stepping into uncertainty. It means risking failure, judgment, rejection. But that's the price of progress, and the reward, a life of depth, a life that keeps getting richer, stronger, more alive, because you keep evolving. When you stop growing, you disconnect from your purpose. You lose your edge, you start settling, compromising, tolerating, and before you know it, you're living a life that looks fine on the outside, but feels flat on the inside. That's not fulfillment, that's quiet resignation. And you don't have time for that, not now, not in this short, precious life you've been given. So how do you grow? You start by getting honest. You look at the areas you've avoided, the conversations you haven't had, the habits you've justified, the excuses you've repeated. Growth begins the moment you tell the truth to yourself. No blaming, no stories, just raw truth. From that space, you can change anything. You can rewire how you think, how you move, how you show up. Then you challenge yourself. You set bigger standards, you raise the bar, you take on things that scare you, not because you're ready, but because growth demands it. You stop waiting for permission, you stop looking for signs. You decide to become the version of yourself who takes the leap, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You surround yourself with people who challenge you, who don't let you settle, people who reflect your highest self, not your comfort zone. Because environment shapes growth. It's hard to rise when you're surrounded by people who constantly pull you back to small thinking, to fear, to mediocrity. You need people who speak vision, who live possibility, who act with integrity. And you make learning a daily habit. Read, listen, watch, reflect, not just for information, but for transformation. Growth doesn't come from knowing. It comes from applying, from failing, from recalibrating. From doing the reps, even when the results aren't instant, especially then, because growth is a process, not an event, and progress is never linear. But it is inevitable when you stay committed. The moment you embrace growth as a lifestyle, you become limitless. You stop comparing yourself to others because your only competition is who you were yesterday. You start waking up with fire, not because life is perfect, but because you are improving. You are stretching, you are becoming, and that feeling, that's the most addictive feeling on earth. the feeling of evolution, of becoming more. Growth also expands your capacity to love, to lead, to serve, to endure. You begin to notice that the things that once triggered you no longer hold the same power. The fears that once paralyzed you now fuel your courage. The doubts that once held you back become your launching pad. You gain perspective, wisdom, strength, and those things don't come from comfort. They're earned in the fire, so if you want to keep living with purpose, you must commit to continuous growth, not just when it's convenient, especially when it's inconvenient. You've got to choose the growth path even when it's lonely, even when it doesn't make sense to others, even when it's slower than you hoped, because this path is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who are all in, who are done with average, who are done with waiting, who are here to live fully, boldly, and without apology. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters that you start. You don't need to have all the answers. Just take one step, and then another, and then another. That's how you build momentum. That's how you rise. That's how you become unstoppable. Not by knowing everything, but by growing through everything. Growth makes life meaningful. It makes struggle worth it. It makes the ordinary feel extraordinary, because when you grow, you see the world differently. You see yourself differently. You realize you're not a prisoner of your past. You're the author of your future. And every page is unwritten. Every chapter is yours to decide. So write it boldly, live it fully, grow through it all, because your life will rise to the level of your growth. And in the end, it's not about perfection. It's about progression. It's about becoming someone you're proud of, someone who didn't let fear win, someone who kept reaching, kept learning, kept rising. That's the life worth living. That's the life built on purpose, sustained by passion, and fueled by unstoppable growth.